and get that tonight. A special edition of Local Music Mashup.
And really thanks to Joe, because he's the one who kind of reached out and said, hey, we've got a compilation of songs if you guys like to play it on the radio. And so, we were like, yeah, we'd love to play it on the radio, but let's take it a step further. And let's put some video.
I was gonna say that's Joe Gumataotao in a nutshell too, because if you ever like connect with him to like ask like for a resource or something like that, he's like, oh, you want resources? I've got resources.
Oh, resources, that boy.
He'll give you a whole bunch of stuff.
Different resources.
It's like all right, we just wanted to do like a little segment, man. We got enough for like an hour show now.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're really excited about it.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Joe's great.
Yeah.
Man, Joe. Thank you, Joe. I went on a hike with him over there, and I want to say it was in Massel or by the...
yeah, I was with you when we did...
Okay. Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for remembering first.
Yeah.
So this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
Before Chris
First of all, guys, Jason wore his nice shoes.
Yeah, so Chris goes, hey, Jason, we got a live stream in the morning. I'm all right. So I wear and I'm anchoring that night, so I wear my nice, collared shirt, slacks, nice, shoes.
He wore this guy wore a mass outfit to go hiking.
Yeah, and then Chris goes, oh, by the way, meet me in Santa Rita, and we walk like a mile and a half into the jungle, over the river,
Plenty
through
mosquito.
the mud.
Plenty mosquito, right?
And Chris is laughing the whole time because
that was funny.
Yeah,
that was funny. I was like, don't mind my friend Jason.
Yeah, but Joe told stories the entire way.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and so they have this little it's like a nature trail, and eventually what they wanted to do, and this is a couple years ago, right? So maybe we should go back. What they wanted to do is they wanted to make the trail lead. There's like a laddie site way in there by like the fuel farm. I want to say it's kind of like between the fuel farm and like the APRA area, but on that side of the road.
Yeah, you see APRA Heights when you get
right.
When you get
so
to that
he was saying
clearing.
that they wanted to do a whole trail because it was like a couple hours into the site, but apparently it's a crazy site with like multiple laddie.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe Gumataotao is awesome. Really. I mean, even that office, they do a lot, right? They don't just make videos and stuff. They also, testify with like the build up or any types of other environmental issues. So it's a pretty a cool office that actually has a lot of authority to do things, which is also neat. But they're always busy. I mean, not just in Mestromore. Remember, there was also that thing where. Remember when they found those remains in Umatic? This was also a couple years ago, and then they had to excavate it, and that was a church or some, man, I forget. Anyway, it was cool. 7 o'clock, we're KUAM FM, Agotni Guam on the radio side. Of course, viewers on KUAM TV. We have the former policy director of the court. He had a long title. I'm just really simplifying it here. It was... There you go. Former Director of Policy Planning and Community Relations for the Judiciary.
I had to WhatsApp into, dude, let me know your title, man, because I want to get this right.
Of Guam, Shawn Gumataotao. Of course, you guys know he's a former KUAM newsman, and then also was the communications director under the Camacho administration.
And the most hardcore Oakland A's fan I have ever met in my life.
That's quite an introduction, Shawn.
Hey, good morning, guys. I thought, as you guys are talking about hiking and Jason getting out hiking, I think I have to get the sight out of my eyes. Jason walking at the Harmon. Jay, all I'll say is you're going to hike. You better wear some kind of long shirt. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, the mosquitoes had fun that day, Shawn.
Oh, no, I can imagine. And also, thanks for the introduction. It's interesting working in two branches of government and then being able to provide kind of insight,
right.
I would think, for the community. And it's probably a good one today, at least in terms of the hearing, the 2-hour hearing yesterday.
Yeah, so this was quite a hearing, and there was just a lot of we can't comment due to an ongoing investigation, which kind of was news to, it was news to me anyway, Bree, because I remember when Speaker Terlahi in the last term, when these revelations kind of came out, I think she had like an informational hearing, and the judiciary at the time had said something along the lines of, we haven't been contacted, or what was it again? She's the main remember around here.
Thanks, Chris.
No pressure.
I don't really remember everything
that
happened from that.
But basically, it was kind of like, it's nothing to worry about or whatever. And then there wasn't a follow-up because, like, a few months later, the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just been more allegations that have come out from the federal courts through, different federal officials and also defendants who have said things like they had their warrants wiped at the court. There's also allegations made about former Deputy Marshal Joey Terlahi, who's the son of Senator Pito Terlahi, right? And so this hearing, it was all kinds of interesting, Sean.
Did you get a chance to watch it, Sean?
Yes, I actually watched with a lot of interest because I remember I was part of the one back in December of 2019. And at the time when we were talking as a group, and this is probably more or less to the Guam legislature, when they ponder doing oversights and their role in that particular function, the judiciary hadn't ever been a subject of an oversight hearing. I mean, generally speaking, they already, as a third and co-equal branch of government, their job is to not only manage the policy that happens within. Obviously, if anything happens or words that are shared across the community that would affect the 400 plus employees, great employees of the branch, the Judicial Council, that's their function and role. They'll do their investigation with the administrator of the courts. So to be drug out into a public forum, it was very different in terms of December 19 to yesterday. And you heard twice the Chief Justice and the current Director of Policy being very pointed to the Guam legislature relative to their mission and the role of the branch of government in these matters. And it was interesting because much of the information that was shared yesterday was shared back in December of 2019, right. Just with a PowerPoint, the addition of the HR administrator, Barb Paris, who was very pointed in terms of the amount of training that's done, not just to the law enforcement folks, but all of the employees, the probation, the current probation, chief of probation and the chief marshal, both talking about, their role. And it really hasn't changed much. But I think it was Senator Joanne Brown who I think said it the best. He said, we're taking information from the court, from a defendant who made an accusation, and we're here. I thought that spoke volumes to bringing in a third branch of government to oversight him on an issue that maybe a phone call, more details between the Chief Justice and the Speaker probably would have been hashed out a little bit easier. And I can say that now, being in my seat that I am.
Right, yeah, because you definitely couldn't say that back in December 2019.
Well, at the time, I think we were all, as a whole community, was listening to the information before the district court. Right. It was words or in a recording that was part of an entire process. And I think that's where where we all as a community have to understand that process. It did run its course. The mayor was convicted and is doing his time right now. But a process like that, which also is the federal government doing their investigatory work, we're just part of that. And there was the idea that that we could do anything, or the branch could do anything. They already have that in place. So it was like I said, I really was thinking a lot about what Senator Joanne Brown had said yesterday, and it really struck a chord with me.
So basically,
kind of the idea.
Senator Brown was like, consider the messenger.
I think she was the one who kind of said it best. I mean, you started hearing all this other dialogue between other senators, and they were asking questions, and the judiciary said, "I can't answer." It's part of the process. And after the 1 hour presentation from Magistrate Judge Kwan on the entire warrants issue, Senator Brown was a little bit more eloquent and specific and precise about what was just transpired after the other dialogue that kind of let the hearing run way too long, that I thought.
Yeah, and we did.
I think because it was so serious, the allegations that were made during the trial and in the case of the former mayor, that everybody wants to know. So what is happening? Did this happen? And where do you go? To find out the answers. And
yeah, I agree, Bria. I mean,
I get what you're saying. And Chris, please don't think that I'm trying to diminish what the process was, because it was very serious allegations to marshals and the like. Don't get me wrong. Right. But I think what we were saying back then and kind of what the Chief Justice and the former Attorney General of Guam said very pointedly was that, in terms of the law and what the function of the branch is, they said it pretty eloquently to the legislature. I got to wonder if they ever drag them back into an oversight ever again. I think, for the people that were there, for the 400 plus employees of the branch who bust their butts every day in support of the branch, it just doesn't make any practical sense that they would take them in on something that had nothing to do with an appropriation or any of the like, but something that had to do with their process that is managed internally.
I kind of disagree, Shawn, because I feel like it reached a point where just everyone in the public was questioning the integrity of the court process, the judicial branch, right? Yeah, and so I felt there was really nowhere else to go but to drag them out, and I know they weren't too happy about it, right? They are judges and lawyers but to not really get any answers and to kind of throw up the ongoing investigation thing, which was kind of news to me anyway, because in 2019 that wasn't, I don't believe that's what was said, and to find out that there's still an ongoing investigation up to now, I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, I think more interesting than that, Chris, is not so much what was said in the public hearing, but the press release from the Attorney General when he said, I'm working with the Guam Police Department. We will investigate, and if anything is found to have been, if there's some law that might have been broken, then we will work with GPD to prosecute. That was brought up in the hearing as well. I think that's how the hearing started. But I think that particular statement coming right before it kind of caught it. In all fairness, my attention yesterday was not so much on the hearing, but I was so excited that Berto Tolentino was the next the nominee to fill the seat of Judge Anita Sokola, and it overshadowed Alberto's the appointment and the announcement of the appointment, and in these times when we're looking for some good news outside of all the other things that are going on relative to COVID and the like, it just it baffles the mind that the timing was such happened at the same time, and you really couldn't give much attention to Alberto's appointment yesterday. So
exactly, the timing was interesting. Why would you hold this special moment for the judge when there's an ongoing oversight hearing?
It was a distraction.
Like half an hour prior,
right? Yeah.
So,
and
that's what I wanted to share with you guys, because if I was in Crystal's place, I probably would have, and I've been in that place. I don't think I would have done that announcement right during right at the same time as the judiciary is getting put under the microscope. They could have distanced it a little bit and got a little bit more oomph, like they did when they nominated Dana Gutierrez to the bench.
I think, outside.
It's such an interesting day yesterday.
Yeah, it was weird.
Branch. And again, serving in two branches of government, I could kind of see it, but I was trying to manage my phone and watch the hearing at the same time. It was pretty wild yesterday.
Yeah, I was watching the hearing, and then I completely forgot about the press conference because Nestor was covering it, and so I had messaged him. It's like, wait, I completely forgot who was nominated. And then he was like, Tolentino. I was like, oh, man, he's such a great guy.
I felt like for the governor to announce that and to schedule that, it was so last minute. Like the announcement came out in the morning.
Yeah.
I felt like it was just a distraction, and they wanted to be like, no, don't look at that over here. Hey, judiciary, we're your friends. Not the pesky legislature.
No, I've been on both sides of that. So, if I were to choose, I would have probably said, well, they got their own issue, let it go. And then let's try to find it's not Friday, because
let's do it
obviously
tomorrow.
There's certain days of the week.
Yeah.
You can really gain a lot of traction. I just,
maybe it was part of their digital engagement plan.
Yeah.
It might have been part of the digital engagement plan. I think that was especially 1 hour before. I thought that was something that you would expect maybe in the first part of the administration, but not near the end of the term.
Right. I did want to get your reaction, because you, like you said, you watched that 2-hour oversight hearing. What did you make of the committee chair on public safety, Senator Pito Terlahi?
We have a clip.
Yeah.
You want to play the clip first?
Yeah, let's
We're going to play the clip, Shawn.
Okay.
And this is Public Safety Chair of the Legislature, Senator Pito Terlahi, during yesterday's oversight hearing of the judiciary.
Madam Speaker, several of the questions that I will be asking are related to what was mentioned by several media outlets regarding corruption within the employees of the Superior Court of Guam, most specifically the marshals and the corruption within our law enforcement agencies. Madam Speaker, I know that some of the questions that you will be asking or have asked is somewhat related to the questions that I will be asking. So, and I am glad that you called for this oversight hearing, because the testimony that has been provided by the employees of the Superior Court of Guam has definitely provided me and all of us a better understanding and clarity of the rules, policies, and action taken under any circumstances, regardless to the complaint against an employee of the court. I just wanted to direct several questions that I wanted, and I don't know who would answer my question. And this is what I wanted to come out with is, there was a female individual, namely Vicilin Tarigeo, reported to the social media that she was illegally detained at the Department of Correction because Superior Court marshals make up a warrant of arrest. And I think with the presentations of the staff of the Superior Court that I listened to, I think it's almost impossible, and I don't think this is possible. All the things that have been said about the vacating of a warrant is really explained by the staff, and it's almost impossible to vacate a warrant with the procedures and the things that goes through the court system. I don't think it's possible that a warrant can be vacated without the permission of the judge. I just wanted to ask, what is their input on the tampering, the purpose of vacating a warrant without being, this person was placed at the Department of Correction, detained at the Department of Correction because the marshal, the Superior Court marshal, make up the warrant of arrest. I just wanted an answer on that. Is that really possible? Because with the explanation, I don't think it's possible. If anybody can answer that, please.
Thank you, Senator. This is Christina Baird, Administrator of the Courts. That we can't address the specific allegation as far as what was made, because that was not, unfortunately, in the Speaker's letter to us. But as to the allegation that a marshal made up a warrant, had an individual arrested and taken and was brought into DOC on that, based upon the processes that we have presented to this body, that would not be possible, Senator, that a warrant would actually be made up and then processed. DOC, and I think Chief Probation Officer, or I'm sorry, Marshal of the Court can verify, they also have access to our systems to look in to see, whether this warrant is correct or not. Unless I'm incorrect, I'd ask the Marshal of Court to correct me. So there is a check and balance there too with DOC, as far as their, a warrant coming in with an individual and that warrant being made up. So right now, under our processes, it would not occur.
Thank you very much, Christina. That really, and I know that that's not possible. I know that the only one that can vacate or issue a warrant is a judge. Another question that I wanted to ask, was there any formal complaint or any misconduct filed by the court by Mrs. Tigarajo, Vicilin Tigarajo? Or did anyone that was present at a barbecue back in 2017 that my son and marshals were there, probation officer were there, that my son assaulted, tied her up for 3 days and beat her up and everything? Was there any report of that incident happening?
Senator, I just want to clarify your question. Are you asking if we had an official complaint filed within the judiciary of Guam as to those allegations? Is that what your question is? Senator Talai, you're muted.
This lady Tarigeo, and I guess you know who she is, had mentioned that she was assaulted by Joey in the presence of marshals and probation officers, and that my son tied her up like for 3 days, assaulted her. And I just wanted to find out, was there any complaint filed by Vicky Lynn Tarigeo regarding that incident?
Senator, first of all, we can't comment as to any of the ongoing proceedings that are presently before the court. We are restricted from making any type of comment whatsoever as to proceedings. As the Chief Justice has has spoken to, and as Attorney Lim Tiaco is also, our understanding of the allegations to date came from the federal case that was filed in the District Court of Guam. That is the only thing I can comment to right now.
Okay, and my final question, Christina, is if a complaint is reported to the court by a person from the general public, that a court employee, most specifically a deputy marshal, who may have acted inappropriately or violated the law, what does the court do to validate the complaint?
Senator, we have processes in place as what was already presented by our HR administrator. It would trigger an internal investigation by the judiciary of Guam, and that internal investigation would be for an administrative process to determine whether we would proceed with an adverse action if the facts warranted, or a referral to the appropriate law enforcement entity. As the HR administrator is...
That's pretty much about it. You know what's interesting to me, Shawn, is we had the Chief of Police, Steve Ignacio, on a couple weeks ago. Remember that, Bree? And he had talked about that he was working with the AG and investigating specific allegations raised against former Deputy Marshal Joey Terlahi in the federal court. And so that letter that had come out to Speaker Terlahi yesterday kind of was a second confirmation of something we heard on the link weeks ago. But I just want to say, first of all, in terms of a conflict or whatever, how much of an issue did you have with a sitting senator grilling a branch of the government about allegations involving his own son?
Yeah, if I could just say that it was probably not the best interchange between Senator Terlahi and the branch. Maybe that discussion could have been better done offline and not in the public square. If there was a concern about his son, whom I did work with at the judiciary, I think it would have been better suited to talk about it, with them. And he probably would have got, Kristen, Jason, and Sabrina, he would have got the same answer that he received yesterday. In terms of the appropriateness, it was kind of outside of the whole thing. I mean, if you think about what was being said previously, but it was like he wasn't sure. He was more defending, obviously, family.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate to do that publicly? I think the people that are listening to today can be the judge of that in terms of how they felt that the senator was in the right to do it. But also relative to the whole issue, I mean, the guy who's doing the actual investigation, Frank Blas Jr., was on the call too, and he didn't have much to say either. He was pretty quiet, which speaks to, again, oversighting a branch of government. I mean, you have oversight over the executive branch and some of their issues, but the branch of government itself seemed a bit out of place. And for the second time, I'm just scratching my head as what is our what does the branch come to when they're doing these types of things relative to how they feel, what happens in the public square, and then bringing it to bear on the floor and hoping they can. I mean, what's the action? Is there a policy that's going to come of it? Is the legislature going to change the law? Are they going to do something about it? And in this case, we all know that's probably not the case.
Yeah, just watching that again with Senator Terlahi, it felt like he was speaking as a parent as opposed to as a policymaker.
Right.
You know.
Right.
That was just a bit much.
That was way out of line.
I mean, when he said it's impossible to get a warrant out. So, okay, so are you acknowledging that the policy is correct and that the judiciary have been doing their part correctly? The judicial branch had, through its judicial council and the rules of the Superior Court and the Supreme Court, is working. I didn't understand that whole entire interaction. Again, just like you, Bree, I think he was just defending his son, and that's the bottom line here.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, when do we really start to question whether or not Senator Peter Terlahi is too conflicted to have oversight of law enforcement? I think it's a valid question.
And I'm not going to tell Chris. I'm not going to tell the branch of government what to do in terms of their chairmanships. But maybe he should change to look at other parts of the executive branch that he can oversee. But public safety right now, it doesn't look not so good.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Shawn.
Yeah, Shawn. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, you know what? Thanks for again. It's a perspective of mine.
I think they need to bring you back down to the
branch here.
I think they need to bring you back to the court though, because you're doing a better job defending the court than the court did yesterday.
Oh, Chris, you're so kind, Chris.
Check your email, my man. They might send a what do they call that? Letter of intent.
Yeah, since we do have you on, and you've been on our show in your former political capacity, right, in our after party shows. I did want to ask, that OCE report came out. It was just made public regarding Congressman Michael St. Nicholas. What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't seen Juan Carlos Benitez on your show in a while, so and not hugging the congressman from DC perched above the mall.
Do they always meet on rooftops or what?
I think they had a pretty nice whatever view that was, but I mean, you definitely want to get him on to get his perspective. But when you hear that they are continuing, it should be telling the entire community as we're watching this process. Yes. I mean, he had been so quiet, and then they come out, and then the next day his attorney says, "Oh, we're going to cooperate." The tone is so different, but it's very serious. I think the community needs to understand that when the Congressional Ethics Group is already pushing it forward, there may or may not be violations, but there's 3. It's not 1, and I think that's something that we should be. We should all watch, and I know you guys are watching it. I was reading on the Hill newspaper, which is distributed throughout DC. They're reporting it, and they're obviously everyone there is kind of watching to see what'll be next. It may be a while, but it has been a while already. To see how long it'll take before they have a final decision. And if something does happen, then what's the penalty? What's gonna happen to the congressman? I think that's going to be also interesting to see what plays out on the Hill. Right. So I'm excited to see what happens next, and that process it's very, very detailed.
It is,
and it looks like folks like that. I think it was John Paul Manuel when he went forward and was kind of whistleblowing. I think you can sense that they're taking it very seriously.
Right. And that report, it was only 2 pages when I was really looking at it. It's 2 pages of 21 pages that was made public.
There's like a timeline when they can release like documents that the subcommittee has. And I think it reached that timeline where they were able to release after however many months the report that was referred to the House Ethics Committee by the Office of Congressional Ethics. But Shawn, if you kind of look at these allegations, which are that the congressman took an over the limit donation from a local businessman and that he converted campaign funds for personal use. It's kind of hard to, just by looking at his campaign finance documents, it's kind of hard to see where the conversion of campaign funds of personal use happened, because that would mean that a donation that was reported, he spent it on something for himself, and maybe the paperwork's not all there. But what is there is the donation that he received. He later returned that donation. And so I kind of felt like those are.
But Chris, you made a good point. You said that what you don't see,
Right.
but when you look at the actual, because I was part of a congressional campaign, if you guys recall, and I think that for when we were going through it, it's very detailed. Now,
Yeah.
so was that detail to a hotel or to a restaurant,
Right.
to a bar? That would be on the record. It should be, and then obviously it doesn't say who was there, what happened. But if it was in the report, I mean, it's hard to miss.
Yeah.
But also, it just talks about just the unorganized nature of the campaign. And I this is my first time talking about this with you guys, but I'll say that when he kept saying, "Oh, somebody else's fault," but in all fairness to the congressman, it was his campaign. He was wholly responsible for signing off on what's sent to the FEC, right?
Yeah.
And so and to the Congress. I just scratch my head every time I hear him say, it was somebody else, and really. He
Well,
was
I
fully
had to
responsible.
scratch my head because he was saying it was somebody else when that somebody else didn't even work for him anymore. So.
And that someone else continues to be someone else. That's
Right.
What baffles the mind. He was the responsible party. It was his responsibility. I mean, by taking this push to be the candidate, and it was his campaign, so he is wholly responsible.
Do people care though, Shawn? I feel like people don't care.
A lot of people that I see on social media, on the KWM site, Twitter, and the like, they really don't give two squirts.
Yeah.
But I think when we think about the way that our community looks at the activity of our political leaders, they're good on one end, but not good on the other. And there just has to be this balance and consistency with how people view, especially these acts. They're responsible for these things. They're bound by law to do them. And yes, they can make mistakes, and they're human, but they continue to think that by not following the law, that's okay. It's minor. We'll get over it. But if that was another candidate, if it wasn't Mike St. Nicholas, I think people would be really way more PO'd than they are now.
They'd be calling for blood, basically, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting because I think he had announced somewhere that he was considering running for governor, and I kind of scratched my head on that because I feel like the only way for him to get out of this ethics investigation would be to resign from Congress. Same thing with former Congressman Berdalio. She was under an ethics investigation, and it ended when she lost the election.
Right, but they also found, I mean we've seen it with Congressman Underwood. He had an investigation, and they cooperated, do their part. No, there's no harm, no foul. And I just put on my KWM hat from back before 2002 to remember even Underwood's investigations. But the idea is they happen, they cooperate. And then at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when people go vote or when they think about who they're electing, they look at those things and do they say, "Oh, I'll take that a pass." But remember, we're talking about it during the campaign and the runoff. They were really taking that as a pass.
Right.
So what would this be any different? But I'm hoping that they finish their work and a final decision is made and there's some resolution to the matter.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thanks again.
Guys, hey guys, have a great show, and you guys keep up the great work. Again, you guys, if you're listening, it takes a lot to put on the link. So kudos to you guys and the team for what you guys do in serving, the people through your medium. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it all, obviously. And it's always a lot of fun. And my blood pressure is good this morning now. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Shawn.
It's gonna
Thanks,
vent a little
Shawn.
bit. Yeah, Shawn.
Thanks, guys.
Keep your phone handy. We'll call you next week.
Yeah.
Always.
Right on.
Always.
There you go. There you go. Shawn Gumataotao.
Yeah.
7:31.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to kind of recap what we were talking about with Shawn about the Office of Congressional Ethics.
Mhm.
So they released the report was made public. They are recommending the House Ethics Committee further investigate because there's substantial reason to believe that Delegate St. Nicholas failed to disclose required information or disclose false information in his FEC filings. The board also noted there is substantial reason to believe that Delegate St. Nicholas accepted cash contributions that were in excess of FEC limits for individual donors and in excess of the limits for cash contributions. The board also recommended that the committee further review the above allegation concerning Delegate St. Nicholas because there is substantial reason to believe that he converted campaign funds to personal use. Now, as soon as we got this report, I just want to make sure it's clear that I reached out to him for a response and a reaction to give him that opportunity, and I have not heard anything back.
Well, I don't think he's responded to any media, because when you look at the media that did cover this story, some didn't. But when you look at the media that did cover it, they all put that they had reached out to the congressman for a comment, which